Well, hi, and welcome to another LRCC Soundbite. Last week, I talked about there being many churches. And this week, I was asked about there's many Bibles. If you've never thought about it or looked at it, you might think there's actually only one, but there's a lot of different versions. And actually, I'm only even talking about English language Bibles at this point. There are Bibles translated into many, many languages. The Bible itself is a collection of different books, 66 of them, that are agreed by everybody to be the inspired word of God. They're all different. They're written by different people. They're of different types. Some are stories, some are rules, some are prophecies, some are poetry. Put together, they form the basis for teaching, but also for getting to know who God is. The original books, those 66, were written in a number of different ancient languages, ranging from Hebrew to Aramaic, Semitic, Greek. The Roman Catholic Church translated the whole lot into Latin, which for hundreds of years, that was the only way the Western Church heard the Bible, through the Catholic Church. Then, in 1604, King James I decided that everyone should be able to read the Bible, or everyone who's able to read could, at least hear it in English. And he commissioned around 50 scholars to go back to the most ancient scrolls and translate the Bible into what became known as the King James Version, first published in 1611, sometimes also called the Authorized Version. You can still buy that version today, written in the language of 400 years ago. As a result, it can at times be difficult to understand. But even though it wasn't the first English translation, I think it's probably the one that had the biggest impact. Since then, there were a couple of new revisions until about the 1950s, when there began an explosion of English translations. Now, translation is where those original texts are worked on by scholars to both translate the words literally, but also to identify the meaning and construction of the words as they may be conveyed in contemporary language. Think of it this way. The great bard Shakespeare wrote his plays, and the language spoken at the time that they were written was current and modern. Everybody understood it. The people watching wouldn't have had to think about what it meant. It was normal language. But today, if you've ever been to see a Shakespeare play, the order of the words and even the words themselves have fallen out of contemporary use. Or even worse, they might mean something completely different. Now, if you know that, you can enjoy a Shakespeare play, but it's work. You have to think through, what are these people actually saying? And it's the case that some people have reworded the plays into language that makes them easier to understand today. So how do you know what's right and what isn't? Well, one way I do it is I look at different versions of the Bible to see where different scholars have agreed and where the emphasis might be different. It's also possible to look at the original text with a word-for-word translation next to it, and then try to make up your own mind what it might mean or how it might go together. And it's certainly the case that some aspects do get lost in translation. There's a chapter in one of the books. It's an acrostic poem in Hebrew. What that means is that for each verse of the poem, each verse starts with the next sequential letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and every line in each verse starts with that same letter. You can't see that in English, but it doesn't stop us capturing something of the beauty of the poem. So basically, as language has changed, so new translations help us to put the Bible into the context of our current language. Now, everything I've said today is quite cold and clinical, I think, treating the Bible as just another book that's translated like a Shakespeare play. The reality, though, is whichever translation you might read, God has a way of opening up new truths and new experiences as you read it, opening up new things that you'll learn about him. I'll talk next week about how that happens, about how God does that, because that is really important, because that's how the Bible becomes more than just a dusty old collection of old ancient writings, but instead brings new experience, new life and new meaning. If you want to take a look at a Bible and don't have one, then if you live near us, email us, contact us, or just knock on the door. Let us know. We've got some different ones that we could let you have, and we'd love to give you one. We've got versions for all ages as well. So I'll leave you to think about that. I hope you have a great week. God bless you.